Complete audio summary of the Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. First published January 1st, 1985. Warning, spoilers ahead. Read to you at Book Nook. Lestat de Lioncourt begins his narrative by introducing himself as a vampire living in the modern world. He explains his nature, describing his physical characteristics: tall, with long blonde hair, gray eyes, and a face that conveys both sensuality and emotion. His voice is unapologetic and charismatic, and he recounts his journey from a mortal man in 18th century France to the immortal creature he has become. This is the tale of his mortal life and his transformation into a vampire. Lestat was born in Auvergne, a rural province in France, to an impoverished aristocratic family. His father, blind and embittered by their declining fortunes, largely ignores Lestat. The family's castle is crumbling, and the once proud family name holds little value in a society increasingly defined by wealth rather than lineage. Lestat's mother, Gabrielle, stands out as an intellectual and unconventional figure. Despite her quiet suffering in the face of her circumstances, she forms a close bond with Lestat, fostering in him a yearning for knowledge and freedom. Gabrielle's influence on Lestat is profound, and her encouragement helps him to develop a fierce desire to escape his restrictive life. Lestat, however, feels trapped in the confines of his family's deteriorating estate. His restless spirit sets him apart from his brothers, who have resigned themselves to the family's diminished status. He finds solace in hunting, a skill in which he excels, and this becomes a defining feature of his mortal identity. One day, he makes a bold decision to kill a pack of wolves terrorizing the local community. His successful hunt earns him the admiration of the villagers and marks the beginning of his reputation as a fearless and charismatic figure. However, this act also unearths his frustration with the constraints of his life, as he knows such fleeting moments of glory cannot satisfy his deeper yearnings. Lestat's longing for escape intensifies when a traveling theater troupe visits his village. The actor's passion and artistry captivate him, and he dreams of joining their ranks. His father, however, forbids it, deeming such aspirations beneath their aristocratic station. Lestat's rebellion against his father's authority comes to a head when his older brothers physically restrain him from leaving. The episode cements his sense of entrapment and his hatred for the limitations imposed by his family's expectations. It is Gabrielle who ultimately facilitates Lestat's escape. Recognizing her son's desperation and unwilling to see his spirit crushed, she secretly provides him with money and her blessing. With her support, Lestat flees to Paris, where he begins a new chapter of his life. In the bustling and vibrant city, he quickly becomes enchanted by the theater and devotes himself to his newfound career as an actor. His natural charisma and commanding presence make him a star on the stage, and he earns the admiration of both audiences and his fellow performers. Lestat finally feels a sense of liberation and fulfillment, living a life of passion and artistry. However, his happiness is short-lived. One fateful night, a mysterious and menacing figure named Magnus abducts Lestat. Magnus, an ancient and reclusive vampire, has been observing Lestat for some time, drawn to his vitality and spirit. Without explanation, Magnus turns Lestat into a vampire, bestowing upon him immortality but leaving him unprepared for the responsibilities and burdens of his new existence. The transformation is both exhilarating and horrifying. Lestat experiences the overwhelming power of his heightened senses and the insatiable thirst for blood that now defines his existence. Magnus offers Lestat little guidance, and after only a brief period together, he commits suicide by casting himself into a fire. Lestat is left alone to navigate his new reality. Lestat inherits Magnus' vast wealth, which includes a trove of gold and a luxurious Parisian home. However, the isolation of his new life weighs heavily on him. The rules of vampiric existence, such as avoiding sunlight, the necessity of secrecy, and the prohibition against forming strong bonds with mortals, create a sense of confinement that mirrors the restrictions he fought so hard to escape in his mortal life. Lestat's loneliness is compounded by his guilt over taking human lives to satisfy his hunger. He struggles to reconcile his new identity with the ideals and emotions that still linger from his mortal years. Determined to make sense of his existence, Lestat delves into the resources Magnus left behind. He discovers writings and artifacts that hint at the ancient origins of vampires, sparking his curiosity about the larger world of the undead. He resolves to seek out others of his kind and learn more about his new nature. Lestat's search for companionship and knowledge becomes a driving force in this phase of his life, shaping his actions and decisions. As Lestat adjusts to his new existence, he begins to experiment with his powers. He discovers that he possesses extraordinary strength, speed, and the ability to influence the minds of mortals. These abilities give him a sense of control and confidence, but they also set him apart from the humanity he once cherished. Lestat's growing understanding of his powers leads him to embrace his vampiric nature more fully, even as he grapples with the moral implications of his actions. One of Lestat's first acts as a vampire is to reconnect with his mother, Gabrielle. Sensing her impending death from illness, Lestat defies convention and turns her into a vampire, granting her immortality. Gabrielle's transformation is a pivotal moment for both characters. Freed from the constraints of her mortal life, Gabrielle embraces her new existence with a sense of adventure and detachment. She becomes Lestat's companion and confidant, and their bond deepens as they navigate the challenges of their new reality together. Gabrielle's presence alleviates Lestat's loneliness and provides him with a sense of purpose. Lestat's relationship with Gabrielle undergoes significant changes as they explore the world together. While Gabrielle revels in her newfound freedom and independence, Lestat remains driven by his desire for connection and understanding. Their differing perspectives on immortality create tension, but their mutual love and respect sustain their partnership. Gabrielle's influence on Lestat is both grounding and transformative, shaping his evolving identity as a vampire. Lestat's journey takes a darker turn as he begins to encounter other vampires. He discovers that the vampiric world is governed by strict rules and traditions, many of which he finds oppressive and outdated. For example, vampires are forbidden from revealing their existence to mortals, from challenging the hierarchy of the covens, and from creating new vampires without permission. As Lestat delves deeper into the vampiric world, he becomes increasingly aware of its complexities and contradictions. He encounters vampires who are consumed by their own despair and isolation, as well as those who wield their power with cruelty and indifference. These interactions deepen Lestat's understanding of his own nature and the challenges of immortality. He begins to question the meaning of his existence and the legacy he wishes to leave behind. Throughout this period, Lestat's memories of his mortal life remain a source of both comfort and pain. He reflects on the relationships and experiences that shaped him, particularly his bond with Gabrielle and the influence of his early years in Auvergne. These recollections provide him with a sense of continuity and identity, even as he grapples with the profound changes wrought by his transformation. After coming to terms with his transformation and forging an intense bond with his mother Gabrielle, Lestat embarks on a journey of discovery that shapes his understanding of the vampire world and his place within it. Fueled by a profound curiosity and a desire to defy the restrictive norms imposed by the vampiric tradition, Lestat begins to explore both the physical and metaphysical dimensions of his immortality. Lestat's travels with Gabrielle mark the beginning of this phase of his life. Together, they venture out of Paris and into the broader world, seeking knowledge and new experiences. Gabrielle's adventurous spirit complements Lestat's boldness, and their partnership deepens as they navigate the challenges of their new existence. Gabrielle, now free from the constraints of mortality and societal expectations, becomes increasingly independent and detached from human concerns. Her transformation into a vampire has liberated her in ways that Lestat both admires and struggles to understand. While Lestat yearns for connection and meaning, Gabrielle is content to roam the earth as a solitary being, observing the world without attachment. Their journey takes them to remote and exotic locations, where they encounter other vampires and uncover fragments of the mysterious history of their kind. In one notable instance, they come across an ancient vampire who resides in a cryptic and desolate lair. This vampire, though weakened by centuries of isolation, shares cryptic warnings about the dangers of seeking too much knowledge. Lestat, however, is undeterred by such admonitions. His defiance of tradition and authority becomes a defining trait, driving him to push boundaries and challenge the established order. During their travels, Lestat and Gabrielle's paths cross with Nicholas de l'Infant, Lestat's closest friend from his mortal life. Nicholas, a passionate and tormented violinist, had been left behind when Lestat fled to Paris. Their reunion is bittersweet, as Nicholas harbors resentment toward Lestat for abandoning him. Despite this tension, Lestat is determined to rekindle their bond and share his newfound power with Nicholas. Against Gabrielle's advice, Lestat turns Nicholas into a vampire, hoping to alleviate his suffering and offer him a new perspective on life. However, Nicholas' transformation has unintended consequences. Rather than finding freedom and enlightenment, Nicholas descends into madness. The weight of immortality and the loss of his humanity prove too much for him to bear. He becomes increasingly erratic and self-destructive, alienating both Lestat and Gabrielle. Nicholas' plight serves as a stark reminder of the perils of immortality and the complexities of the vampiric condition. Lestat is deeply affected by his friend's suffering, and his failure to save Nicholas becomes a source of lasting guilt and regret. As Lestat's understanding of the vampire world deepens, he begins to uncover the existence of the Vampire Coven, a secretive and hierarchical organization that enforces strict rules and traditions among their kind. The coven is led by Armand, a charismatic and enigmatic vampire who embodies the old ways. Armand is deeply committed to preserving the secrecy and order of the vampire world, viewing Lestat's rebelliousness as a threat. Their initial encounters are marked by tension and ideological conflict, as Lestat's defiance of tradition clashes with Armand's adherence to the coven's dogma. Despite their differences, Lestat and Armand develop a complex relationship. Lestat is fascinated by Armand's ancient wisdom and the history he represents, while Armand is intrigued by Lestat's vitality and boldness. Their interactions are charged with mutual admiration and mistrust, reflecting the broader tensions between the old and new ways of vampiric existence. Lestat's refusal to conform to the coven's rules sets him apart, earning him both allies and enemies within the vampire community. One of Lestat's most significant discoveries during this period is the Theatre de Vampires, a macabre and decadent theater troupe comprised entirely of vampires. The troupe performs elaborate and grotesque plays that serve as a cover for their predation on human audiences. Lestat is both repelled and fascinated by the Theatre de Vampires, which represents a darker and more hedonistic side of vampiric existence. The theater is led by Santiago, a cunning and manipulative vampire who takes an immediate dislike to Lestat. Santiago's animosity toward Lestat stems from his perception of Lestat as a disruptive and dangerous influence. The Theatre de Vampires becomes a focal point of conflict as Lestat's defiance of traditional vampiric norms brings him into direct confrontation with Santiago and his followers. Lestat's audacity and refusal to submit to the theater's authority make him a target, and he is forced to navigate a series of dangerous and dramatic encounters. These conflicts test Lestat's resilience and resourcefulness, further shaping his identity as a vampire who refuses to be constrained by convention. Throughout his journey, Lestat remains driven by a desire to understand the origins and nature of vampirism. His quest for knowledge leads him to delve into ancient texts and seek out vampires who possess insights into their shared history. He becomes increasingly obsessed with uncovering the truth about the first vampires and the source of their power. This quest takes on a spiritual dimension as Lestat grapples with questions of purpose, morality, and the meaning of immortality. Lestat's relationship with Gabrielle evolves as they continue their travels. Gabrielle, ever independent and enigmatic, begins to distance herself from Lestat. Her desire to explore the natural world and live a solitary existence contrasts with Lestat's need for connection and his relentless pursuit of knowledge. Their parting is bittersweet, as Lestat respects Gabrielle's wishes but feels the weight of her absence keenly. Gabrielle's departure marks a turning point for Lestat, forcing him to confront his loneliness and redefine his sense of self. Lestat's journey eventually leads him to the discovery of the ancient vampire Marius, a figure shrouded in legend and mystery. Marius, known as a keeper of the old ways, embodies the wisdom and history that Lestat has been seeking. Their meeting is a pivotal moment, as Marius becomes both a mentor and a source of inspiration for Lestat. Through Marius, Lestat learns about the origins of vampires and the existence of Akasha and Enkel, the first and most powerful of their kind. Marius introduces Lestat to Akasha and Enkel, who are referred to as the parents or the sacred core of the vampire race. These ancient beings remain in a trance-like state, their power and presence both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Lestat is profoundly affected by the encounter, as it deepens his understanding of the vampire world and his place within it. The revelation of Akasha and Enkel's existence serves as a culmination of Lestat's quest for knowledge, while also raising new questions about the nature of power and immortality. Marius shares with Lestat the responsibility of protecting Akasha and Enkel, emphasizing the importance of their role in maintaining the balance of the vampire world. Lestat, however, is torn between reverence for the ancient beings and a desire to challenge the status quo. His encounter with Akasha and Enkel fuels his ambition and solidifies his determination to forge his own path, even as he grapples with the weight of the knowledge he has gained. During his time with Marius, despite his warnings, Lestat's curiosity gets the better of him. One night, driven by his insatiable desire for knowledge and his defiant nature, Lestat sneaks into the sanctuary where Akasha and Enkel reside. He is drawn to their ethereal beauty and the profound aura of power that radiates from them. He approaches Akasha, captivated by her serene yet commanding presence. As he stands before her, a moment both terrifying and exhilarating, Akasha, despite her apparent dormancy, offers Lestat her wrist. Overcome by the opportunity and unable to resist, Lestat drinks from Akasha's ancient blood. Her blood floods him with immense power, vitality, and an intense, almost overwhelming connection to the ancient roots of the vampire race. It is a transcendent and transformative moment for Lestat, one that leaves him forever changed. It is thanks to Akasha's blood that he will later survive Claudia's attack on his life. As Lestat continues to explore his identity and purpose, he begins to envision a new way of being a vampire. Rejecting the secrecy and fear that define traditional vampiric existence, Lestat dreams of a life that embraces both his immortality and his humanity. This vision sets the stage for the next phase of his journey, as he prepares to challenge the established order and redefine what it means to be a vampire. Lestat's journey takes a bold turn as he decides to fully embrace the modern world and his identity as a vampire. Rejecting the secrecy that has long defined vampiric existence, he resolves to bring the world of vampires into the light of human knowledge. This decision stems from his growing dissatisfaction with the traditions and restrictions imposed by the Vampire Coven and his desire to create a new reality for himself and his kind. Fueled by this ambition, Lestat reinvents himself as a rock star, using his fame and charisma to challenge the established norms of both human and vampire societies. Lestat's transformation into a rock star begins with his discovery of music as a means of self-expression and communication. Drawn to the raw energy and emotional power of rock music, he immerses himself in the modern music scene, learning to play the guitar and write songs. His natural charisma and talent quickly set him apart, and he forms a band with mortal musicians who are captivated by his magnetic presence. Lestat's music becomes a reflection of his inner struggles, his defiance of tradition, and his longing for connection. His lyrics, filled with references to his vampiric nature and experiences, captivate audiences and spark intrigue. As Lestat's fame grows, he begins to attract the attention of both mortals and vampires. His boldness in revealing aspects of the vampire world through his music angers the traditionalist vampires, who see his actions as a dangerous breach of secrecy. Santiago and the Theatre de Vampires view Lestat as a threat to their way of life and their control over the vampire community. Meanwhile, Lestat's music resonates with younger and more rebellious vampires, who see him as a symbol of change and liberation. This division within the vampire world underscores the growing tension between the old and new ways of existence. One of the defining moments of Lestat's career as a rock star is the release of his album, which quickly becomes a global sensation. The album's provocative lyrics and imagery, which openly reference vampires and their world, ignite a firestorm of controversy and curiosity. Fans and critics alike are drawn to Lestat's enigmatic persona, and rumors begin to circulate about the authenticity of his claims. Lestat's decision to perform a live concert further escalates the situation, as it presents an unprecedented opportunity for both mortals and vampires to witness his defiance firsthand. The concert, held in a massive outdoor venue, becomes a climactic event that draws vampires from around the world. Many traditionalist vampires attend with the intention of stopping Lestat, viewing the concert as a dangerous exposure of their secrets. However, Lestat is undeterred by the threats against him. He sees the concert as a platform to assert his vision of a new era for vampires, one in which they no longer hide in the shadows but coexist openly with humanity. The atmosphere at the concert is electric, with mortals and vampires alike captivated by Lestat's performance. The stage is set with dramatic effects designed to evoke the mystery and allure of the supernatural. Lestat's appearance is nothing short of mesmerizing. He is dressed in an elaborate costume that blends the Gothic and the modern, a deliberate nod to his identity as a timeless creature. His every movement exudes confidence and defiance, and his voice captivates the audience, both mortal and immortal. As the concert progresses, Lestat escalates his boldness, making direct references to his vampiric abilities. At one point, he uses his supernatural speed and strength in a way that shocks the human crowd but solidifies his legend as something otherworldly. The tension in the air becomes palpable as the traditionalist vampires watching from the shadows grow increasingly furious at his audacity. During the height of the concert, Lestat is approached by Gabrielle and Louis. Their presence is a poignant moment for him, as it reconnects him with two of the most important figures in his life. Gabrielle, ever the stoic adventurer, observes Lestat's performance with a mix of admiration and concern. She recognizes the danger he has placed himself in but understands his need to defy convention and carve his own path. Gabrielle's calm, maternal strength steadies Lestat amidst the chaos, and their bond is reaffirmed in the fleeting moments they share backstage. Louis, however, is more conflicted. Their reunion is charged with unresolved tension from their tumultuous history. Louis is both drawn to Lestat and deeply critical of his actions. He cannot fully support Lestat's vision of breaking the secrecy of the vampire world, fearing the consequences of such exposure. Despite this, Louis cannot deny the connection they share, and their conversation reveals a mixture of lingering affection and philosophical discord. Louis's presence serves as a reminder of Lestat's past and the moral dilemmas that continue to haunt him. As the concert reaches its crescendo, the tension between Lestat and the traditionalist vampires boils over. Some ancient traditionalists attempt to disrupt the event, and if possible, kill Lestat, leading to a dramatic confrontation. Lestat, with the aid of Gabrielle and Louis, narrowly escapes an outright attack. The trio uses their combined strength and cunning to evade their enemies, but a mysterious being also helps them in the fight. Following the chaos of the concert, Lestat thinks that the mysterious being that helped them had been Marius, his mentor and the ancient keeper of vampiric lore, but he receives a series of warnings, both cryptic and urgent, from him. Akasha, the Queen of the Damned, has been awakened from her centuries-long slumber by the vibrations of Lestat's music and his bold defiance. The end. I can't believe this book was first published in 1985. I read it when I was young, instantly loving it. I hope you have enjoyed this summary. If you liked it, please subscribe so I can keep uploading even more books. Also, giving me a like helps a lot. I will probably be doing a summary of the rest of the series, but if you would like me to summarize any specific book, please write me it in the comments. Also, if you have seen the new series, please let me know if you liked it.